Welcome back to Dan Talks United. It's Burnley versus Manchester United at Turf Moor. Fletcher's first game as caretaker boss. And we've drawn 2-2. Let me just change that on there actually because I've got 1-1 on there. And that's going to do my head in. Just bear with me. But yes, Fletcher takes charge after Amorim sacking, takes Manchester United to Turf Moor, 2-2. There's a moment in the game where we think we're going to win this easy. Don't know what you guys think about that, but please put your comments in below. How do you see Fletcher's first game in charge? Do you think that's a good draw? Do you think we should have won? Or do you think that we were lucky to even get a draw? Please put your comments in below. But for me, we should have been winning that game, especially when Sesko's put us up 2-1. But we'll get into all that. So, as I was saying, we'll go through the goals anyway. So, first goal, you could say, was unfortunate. But before that, it was terrible defending for me. So, Casemiro has let his man go. It's a bit of a slide rule pass through. Can't remember the name of the Burnley player, but anyway, he attempts to put a cross in. Sort of Heaven is sort of on his heels a little bit because he's got a player that he was marking originally to think about over his shoulder, and then he's thinking, right, I'm going to go for the guy on the ball, which is the right thing to do. So as he does that, obviously he's not close enough to the winger as he puts the cross in, and it flicks off him and curls into the net. Nothing that Le Mans could do. I'm just going to refresh the chat. Nothing that Le Mans could do with that. Unfortunate goal, but then it's our defending that's not being good there. If I'm going to be honest in regards to the way we've started that game, I feel that it was very disjointed, but again, we'll come on to that. So then we've got a goal from Sesko, gets his first goal in quite a long time, gets the second, and then a player called Anthony gets Burnley's second. So anyway, let's just have a chat about the first half first. So overall, like I say, in that first half, I think it was a little bit of sort of that hangover of the team has been set up in that 3-4-3 before for many a game. Maybe one or two of them sort of a bit of a hangover from Amorim getting sacked. You can see that there hasn't been loads of time for Fletcher to get his sort of style of play across, if you want to call it that. Again, I only had that video that I showed you in the last video to say what Fletcher's style might be. So again, don't know how he hasn't really had enough time to sort of demonstrate that in training. Obviously, he's had some players come back in Bruno. So captain came back today, which was a positive, but couldn't do the full match. Mount was back as well, but you could tell when he came on, he wasn't fully fit. So there was a little bit of almost like players didn't know where they were supposed to be on the pitch at times. They were trying to do some combinations, but it wasn't really coming off. Just got a message there in the chat there from David Speaks Football. So Sesko with a brace, which shocked me, yeah. But happy to see it. I'm feeling completely dejected with United, to be honest, and really don't know what's next. And yeah, fantastic there to say that, because that just encapsulates everything that I was thinking. It's one of those where, and I don't know what you think, David, but you sort of, I don't want to come away from that feeling like I'm not bothered, because it's definitely not that. I am dejected because obviously the win was there for us, and again, for whatever reason, it's like we don't want fourth position, and I don't know what that's about. It's like fourth is there for the taking, and you've got, I mean, I hadn't seen the full results. We'll come on to that in a bit when I go on Footmob, but I know that Newcastle snatched a win in the end, didn't they? So that sort of catapulted them above us now, goal difference. But we had that opportunity to sort of keep Newcastle at bay a little bit and sort of chase down Liverpool. And every time that fourth position is there for the taking, we just screw it up. And I just don't understand why. Don't know what it's like. They're scared of it. Strange. But it's one of those, as I was saying originally there, because I'm sort of referring to David there with his chat there. I've come away from that disappointed. Yes, you are pissed off that we haven't won the game. But at the same time, you're thinking, again, Fletcher hasn't had much time with the team. A lot's happened. It can be quite emotional. There's a lot of players that have played today that were probably happy with Amorim because they're some of them are the ones that are sending good well wishes to Amorim. And you're almost thinking, are they sort of, I don't know, impacted by that maybe? Because I felt Casemiro today, and I don't know what you guys felt, but I felt Casemiro today didn't have his best game. So it took him a while to get going. And obviously, having that goal go against us and that own goal go in, that definitely put us back a bit. Because, to be honest, as much as the play was disjointed, we had a lot of the ball and we were pretty much all over them. But obviously, then that gives them confidence. And then, as you could see, when we had some chances and there were sort of headering goal-bound shots off the line and clearing it off the line. They were getting all confident and high-fiving and just thinking, oh, it's going to be one of them games where we're going to keep trying to score, but we're just never going to score, is how it felt at the time. So just not miss any comments. Yeah, so David again, the players look lost, to be honest. Amorim has completely confused them. Someone needs to come in next and get hold of this team. Amorim has had them confused for 14 months. Yeah. I think the other side of it as well, just to touch on that, and maybe we can have a chat about this on Monday, David, is obviously Amorim was doing the 3-4-3, generally speaking, as we know, and then he sort of changed it for a couple of games and went back again, and I just think that's not a good idea either, where that's your philosophy, that's what you've been drumming into the team. I'm not saying that the team got it, because I don't think they ever really got it, but there was getting it. There were certain players that were getting it and sort of benefiting from it. And then to change it to a sort of more traditional 4-3-3 in a couple of games and actually get a decent result here and there, and then change back again. But then I think the most confusing thing, and I don't know what you guys think who was watching, is that when they're warming up before the game, a lot of the time they were warming up in like a 4-3-3, but then ended up playing 3-4-3 or vice versa. So it's almost like he's trying to bamboozle the opposition, but then you're bamboozling your own players. So I think you're right there, David, in regards to what they've been doing for the past sort of year. And then obviously they're now reverting back to what you would say they used to. But again, as much as we keep saying that, yeah, the players are used to the 4-3-3, let's get back to the 4-3-3. If you've been drilled and training and playing in that 3-4-3 setup, you're going to start to get entrenched in it, ingrained in it. And what we sort of forget is it's not just about playing in that formation during games. It's also that they'll be playing in that formation during training and the warm-ups, etc. and so forth. So that first half definitely was almost like when a team's rusty. It just felt a bit like that, where it's like, and on top of that, in fact, it's almost like a team that didn't know each other. And a lot of these players have been playing with each other for the last few games, and it felt like they just didn't know each other. And I think another thing that sort of hampered us a little bit, and obviously we can come on to players themselves, and I will leave sort of diagnostics of Cunha later on, is the fact that he didn't play as well in this game. But anyway, we'll continue with the analysis of the first half. So, again, like I said, in fact, we got to points where Burnley, like I say, after that, especially after the goal, they start to get quite confident, and they were putting some passing together and quite good combinations together. And we was actually again, we're making a team down the bottom look decent. And that's the disappointing thing about it, is because we did it with Wolves as well when we played them at home. We made them look decent in patches of the game, and I think we did the same again today. where it looked like Burnley was going to get the second, to be honest with you, because they had a good chance to make it 2-0. And that would have been disastrous, because I'm not sure we would have come back from that. But I was cursing Sesko as well, and obviously we've been trying our best, and David knows the same, who's been in the chats, that we've been trying our best not to go too heavy on Sesko. And I really, really want him to do well, because, again, I'm not going to profess to know his game in its entirety, because I only watched clips of him. A lot of the time it's going to be straight to YouTube when you know that someone's coming in, especially if you haven't been watching them. I have watched the Bundesliga in the past. It was mainly in COVID times, so I haven't really watched Bundesliga for a while. But what I did know of Sesko before he came in is that, and I've said it before, decent enough striker, still young, still learning, wasn't particularly prolific though. And as I was saying before, this week, he was outperforming his XG, and that can be a concern unless you can start to convert that into consistency. So if you're sort of having one of those wonder seasons, one-off seasons, where everything you hit goes into the back of the net from anywhere that you shoot, that's an issue. And that's one of the things I said about, and I'm going off from the point here, but that's one of the things I said about Villa, and where I thought they might start to dip because they were outperforming their XG as a team. So back onto Sesko, like I say, watching some of his clips, there's a lot there to be hopeful for, because there is a talent in there. It's just that there's times where he's just looked really poor. There's times where he's looked like a player that you'd see down in the pub league. I'll be really honest. I know it sounds bad, but there was some of the things he's doing in terms of how he was controlling the ball, how he's dribbling with the ball, how he's passing it off sometimes, where you think there's people that could do better at the dog and duck or somewhere. But like I say, he had some early chances in this game in the first half, and I'm thinking, here we go again with Sesko. He's getting the chances. I've said myself that we don't put enough chances into Sesko. I've stopped defending him on that, to be honest, because I think as much as this can still be more coming into the box, I think when he has had the chances up until today, he hasn't really taken them. And again, there was a couple of sort of tame headers, tame shots, where you're just thinking, come on, we need something from you, Sesko, because we don't have another number 9, really. Yes, we've got young Obi from Arsenal, but we gave him a couple of chances, didn't quite hit the mark. Very difficult, again, because I've said this before, very difficult when you are coming into a team like this that are not performing and expecting a youth player to just come in and step up and play like a seasoned pro. It's just not really going to happen. So we need him to step up because he's our only number 9 and our only real goal threat, especially when Bruno's been injured. And then Xerxes, I mean, we could come on to Xerxes. So, Dorgu, and we'll come on to him as well, but he'd sort of put a few balls into the box for Sesko, trying to create chances for him. Likewise with Bruno, didn't quite pull it off. A lot of frustrating moments as well, where there was like Casemiro, I think he did it as well, taking a shot from outside the box that's just way wide. Some wayward passing as well from Casemiro, where you're just not on the same wavelength. You've got, I can't remember which player it was that was sort of making a bit of a darting run into the box, and then Casemiro's tried to do like a clever sort of curled cross into the box that just went wide anyway, and out for a goal kick. And like I say, there was a moment where the ball got played off. Obviously, it was the wrong person to be advancing at the edge of the area, but ball came to edge of the area. Agate, I mean, don't get me wrong, he hit it well. You just wanted somebody else to be in that position. So a Bruno, let's say, would have been much better to be in that position. And then going on to the second half, it looked like, I wasn't sure, but it looked like Bruno, and people in the chat could probably tell me different, but it looked like Bruno had been slightly moved to the right to try and have a bit more impact on the game, because I think he was getting a little bit stifled straight down the centre. and tried to drive through the centre of their area. So I think he started to get a bit more joy on that right-hand side, which then proved to be the case, because I keep saying this, and obviously I'm probably too old to be saying this now, but it felt like Bruno had done that sort of through ball, that pressing the triangle button on FC 26 and passes it through to Sesko, and Sesko must have been frustrated because he's hit the ball well, and he's hit it with conviction. He's made sure that was going in the back of the net, and it was a nice finish. And at that point, I'm thinking, I've just been dissing you in the first half, and you've looked like absolute crap in that first half, and then gets the ball through to him. And to be honest, that's where he needs to have it, though, because for me, I think, well, he should be strong enough with his stature and everything. But for me, I want the ball to be played in front of Sesko so he can run onto it. So I think there's too many times where we're relying on him getting that first ball as the ball comes over the top, for example, and letting him try and trap the ball in his chest and then pass it off. Don't mind that happening if he can do it, but I'd prefer, and this is where it could be a good thing. Not saying that I wanted people to lose their jobs, but now Amarin's gone, if we're going to revert back to that sort of 4-3-3, that sort of 4-3-2-1 sort of thing, where Bruno's going to play more of a number 10, then I want to be seeing Bruno looking for Sesko's run so that the ball's going in front of him and he's not having to, like I say, hold off a defender and do all that sort of stuff and all the dirty stuff. I just want you to get in that box and score like you scored today. That is what I want to see from Sesko. And hopefully, because I'm sure you all want to see Manchester United thrive, Manchester United win games, and also any players that are playing for Manchester United to do well. And for me, that is a goal I want to see from Sesko, because that is more of a in keeping with an XG type of goal. And then, I won't say dreamland because that's a bit of a stretch, but then we go ahead because there's some decent play down the left-hand side. Dorgu whips in a cross and a smart finish from Sesko, sort of cuts it across the keeper. Keeper's got no chance, just doesn't really need to do much, really. It's almost like a finish you would do if you're playing pool and you just do a nice shot in the bottom corner, bottom pocket. It was a nice sort of connection with the ball. Didn't need to put any power on it. It just basically diverted it into that corner, and that is a striker's finish. And hopefully that's now going to give him some confidence. Hopefully. It's got a comment there from SJ. Second goal was beautiful, and it was. And to be honest, I think the first goal was nice as well. But it was more about the flow of that second goal, you could say, as well. And again, Dorgu doing that wing play. I talked about this, and I think that's probably what Fletcher wants, because that's his DNA. Now, I'm not bigging Fletcher up too much here, by the way, because I don't really want to be seeing him in the dugout too long. But DNA-wise, yeah, he wants to see some good wing play, get the ball crossed into the box. You've got a big target man there. Use him. Too often are we just letting the big man just stand around in the box doing nothing. We need to get the ball into him and just keep doing it repetitive. And that's one thing I'm going to say without saying too much in regards to individual performances at this stage of the video, is that repetitive nature, because I've talked about that, where I want people to, if it don't work the first time, try again. Now, I don't want people keep shooting, but crossing and passing, keep doing it. So that there's a repetitive nature to it that Sesko thinks confidently, I can make my runs into the box because Dorgu's going to find me, or Cunha, if he's on form, is going to find me, or when Mbumo comes back or Ahmad comes back, they'll find me because they're going to cross it to me. They're going to trust me because they know now that I'll score goals. And that's what we want. But again, nice to get some comments, make some more. Tell me how you think the game went. Are you disappointed? Because I know, obviously, David's alluded to that a little bit, and I get your point. I think there's an element of me, though, where I'm sort of saying, do you not give the team, because you can't let the team off because they've been disappointing for a while, but more from a Fletcher point of view, should we expect this performance where it's a little bit mixed? And then hopefully, the only problem is the next game is all the games are important, but the next game's important because that's a cup game. That's FA Cup, Brighton, and I'll say the question now because I'm probably going to say it towards the end. Do we trust Fletcher to take the team again against Brighton FA Cup? Because for me, we need to stay in this cup and we need to be really looking at winning the cup if we can. Do we trust him to take the next game? I don't know. I've not looked at my phone to see any updates. I didn't think there was going to release anything during the game anyway in regards to who the next person's coming in terms of being the interim up until the summer. So we're all expecting Ollie back at the wheel, and whether he's going to come in on his own or come in with Carrick, or whether they even give it Carrick, because it's a little bit cloak and dagger at the moment, so we're not quite sure which way they're going. But the reports are saying, especially from the man like Fabrizio Romano, is saying that Ollie's basically sat at the edge of his sofa waiting for the phone call. He's chomping at the bit. He's waiting to take the job. Probably work for free, as you've been seeing. He's not bothered about his salary. He's not bothered about contract length. He just wants to get back in there and help the team. So bless him. He wants to come back and help us. But anyway, we'll see. So just to sort of comment on after being 2-1 up and you're thinking, right, we're going to do this. And then there's just, for me, again, that sort of lapse in concentration, that sort of, I just called it a horrific defending, where fortunately it's Martinez, and I really like Martinez. I think he's one of the most technical players in the team, especially for a defender. I think he's got a lovely pass on him. I think he's aggressive. I think he sort of makes up for lack of height a lot of the time and does win headers with that aggression as well. Knows where to put his body, so he's clever in that respect. But for me, he hasn't got tight enough. And Anthony's been able to wriggle free, and then he's just curled one into the top corner, which you never want to see that against a team like Burnley. Burnley, slightly better than Wolves, are they? It's in that sense, it becomes embarrassing. So that was a massive shame that happened. But one upside, though, and again, put your comments in below in regards to what you think about almost a super sub. So this is one thing that Amorim wasn't really doing, and putting a lot of faith in youth. Don't get me wrong, he did play Fletcher and what have you, and I think he did put Lacey on at one point. But one thing I will say, if I'm going to give any credit to Fletcher, is that he was definitely going for the win, because he's taken off defensively minded players and put on some attacking players. Obviously, Xerxes came on, for example. Shea Lacey's come on, and pretty much, don't know how many touches you want to call it, but he's dribbled a little bit and he's thought, you know what, I'm going for goal here. And if you are like I was, I thought that was going in. And I thought that we were going to have our Makeda moment and have that sort of youth player that comes onto the pitch and saves the day for us. The only thing with that is I struggle to think about youth players that do that and then still have a good career with us, because it's almost like it happens too soon. So there's part of me that's like, I don't mind so much that it's not happened, because he would have got gassed, he would have got blown up, and then it would be like, you have to keep doing it again. And there's not many Wayne Rooneys about, for example. There's not many class of 92s about. But it looks promising, and that shot, that definitely got me off my seat. It was just so unlucky that it wasn't inches lower, because Dubravka was beaten for me. And then he tried again, but he wasn't quite as close. And I just thought, normally I'm kicking off when people are just shooting from outside the box and it doesn't go in. But young lad, showing confidence, is, I think some people have labelled him as similar to Foden. I don't know, because I've not seen enough of him, so I'm not going to comment. I think the only downside is that he's a Scouser, but anyway, I'll put that to one side if if he does well for us, because obviously we had Wayne Rooney and I'll let that slide. So massive shame that Lacey didn't score there, but looks promising for the future. And like I say, what I did like is that Fletcher was going for the win, and he was putting attacking-minded players on the pitch, and didn't want to come away without 3 points. So you can only sort of give him a bit of credit for that. And I think more than anything, maybe the players have let him down a little bit there, because, like I say, he was going for it. So just going to have a quick look, not overdo it, going to have a quick look, and just 1 sec while there's some chats coming in before I go on to FootMob. Yeah, main takeaway is same but different. Yeah, I think I sort of know what you mean by that. And I think there's a lot of that's gone on, really, in regards to you're kind of hoping for something different, as I was a little bit today. I was probably a little bit too enthusiastic, thinking that there was going to be some sort of new coach bounce, whatever we're going to call it, with Fletcher at the helm. And maybe that we could... I never thought we were going to have a clean sheet, so I did say that in my predicted score. Stupidly, I said 3-1, but obviously it was 2-2. But, yeah, you sort of got more of the same in parts, but slightly different in the sense of sort of formation might have been different and what have you. And the subs... probably from his first game, his subs are probably better than every time Amarin's tried to sub. Wow, maybe 1 or 2 times. So, yeah. But anyway, didn't amount to anything, unfortunately, but it was positive, and we've got a draw out of it, even though we were losing 1-0. Just do one more comment before I go on to FootMob. So where worry is fact that we've played both Burnley and Wolves twice, and that means tougher games. Yeah, agree. Very true, because for me, we should have had 3 points from that Wolves game at home. And then you've got Burnley, that's the next worst team. And we should, although it's at Turf Moor, we should be getting 3 points there as well. So then our next games then, because we're going to have the Manchester derby soon, although City are not firing on all cylinders because they've dropped a few points here and there, but they'll step it up for us, won't they? But you could say there's times where when we're not expected to win or expected to do anything in a particular game, we've sometimes done better than we think. So hopefully we can do something against City. I wouldn't obviously hold my breath on that, but hopefully we can do something against City, but we'll see. But no, good comments there, and keep them coming. So I'll just go on to FootMob. Right, so it's just to run through quickly and some stats, just for people that are into stats, and just to give a bit of an overview. Much prefer to go through stats when we've won the game and where we've played pretty well, but I shouldn't just do it for one side. So on the left hand side, Burnley. On the right hand side is us. Self-explanatory with the colours. So yeah, overall we've had 65% possession to their 35%. Expected goals was 2.25 for us, 0.24 for them. Total shots, I didn't realise it was as much as that. 30 shots. Again, as I always say, means nothing unless they go in the back of the net, generally speaking. But the shots were there. Shots on target, 10 for us, 1 for them. Big chances, 4 for us, 0 for them. So it sort of shows what was going on in this game in a sense. And that probably brings more of a disappointment that, again, sometimes when you look at stats in isolation, it can tell you a different story, and it's all about the eye test. It's all about what you saw when you're watching the game. But also stats brings things into perspective in terms of how many times we did some things. So that's why I'll try to look at this. So how much of the ball did we have? How many shots did we have? How many chances did we create? And I still think that's important. And like I say, can't please everybody. I like to go through the stats just to give a bit of different perspective on things. So that's why we do it. So, to be honest, not overly interested in the rest of the stuff. It was more about those key areas for me. And we'll probably, in fact, let's do it now. So let's have a quick look at the league standings. Oh, we'll look at results first, actually. So just to try and make ourselves feel a little bit better, Spurs lost 3-2. So it looks like that was Semenyo's last game. Did he score as well, get the winner? So a bit of a parting gift for Bournemouth. Brentford there, 3-0 against Sunderland. And Sunderland being on form. Won't dwell too much on them teams that not really around us. Fulham's done us a favour there because Chelsea have lost there before the man like Rossini comes in. See if he can rescue Chelsea. City 1-1, as we're saying. And then Newcastle nicked it towards the end, so they've just leapfrogged us really in the league, unfortunately. So quickly, just look at the table for you. So Arsenal just stay where they've been. Man City still in second. Villa still in third. Liverpool on fourth, who we were chasing down to a certain extent, but we just don't want to take the opportunity to go fourth for some reason. Brentford, wow, they've snuck up on us there in fifth. And Newcastle sixth, but it is similar. Is it same points? Yeah, same points, but it's just that goal difference is the difference there. And then we've dropped to seventh. So again, it's a opportunity missed there in regards to going fourth and actually cementing, because again, whether or not our team is ready for the Champions League, we need to, it's our best way of progressing. So just look at some more comments. We've had an easier run with a lot of draws, which is now means our big games are more important and put more pressure on the less experienced lads. Yeah, you're right again. So some brilliant comments from yourself there. Yeah, completely right, because again, we're sort of saying this is that you beat the teams you should beat, which would be good, a good start. You beat your Wolves, you beat your West Hams, you beat Everton that beat us with 10 men, you beat Burnley today, and you take some pressure off, and then players like Lacey coming onto the pitch, as much as, you know, I want to push you and say, yeah, go on, play how you play, score the goal, a wonder strike, you name it, there's less pressure on a Lacey then, and there's more time that can be given to Lacey to come onto the pitch and show what he can do and start to integrate into the team. And I think the more you sort of not beating teams or and a lot of the time, you know it yourself in the Fergie's days where you might be winning 3-0 and then you can bring a youth player on because you can afford to do that. But what you don't really want to be doing like today is like bringing a youth player on to rescue it for you. Fine if it happens, but it's a lot of pressure. So again, fantastic comment there. Bear in mind our first two games of our second half of the season were against Leeds and Burnley. Yeah. So again, it's and I missed out Leeds earlier. That could have been a win for us, as much as it's at Ellen Road and it's been a tough place for a lot of teams to go to. The opportunity was there to beat Leeds there, to be fair. And again, fantastic again. Keep them coming. Fantastic points. 2 points from 6. Again, it's not good enough. And it just shows where we would have been in the league. And I've said it before, where it's been so frustrating when, if you're like me and you're checking the league standings at like half time, because a lot of time when I'm looking around and seeing what other teams are doing and if they're drawing at half time or if they're losing at half time, and then if we happen to be winning and you look at the table and you think, oh look, we're in. I know you probably shouldn't do it because you've got to wait till the end of the game and things change as they have done. However, you're trying to be positive, you're looking and you're seeing that you are in third position, let's say, and or fourth position a lot of times when I've looked, and then they just let you down and lapse in concentration, don't defend properly, don't see a game out. And I was saying it today when I was watching the game, when it was 2-1, I just kept thinking to myself, we need a third. And just as I'm saying it, Anthony just goes and kills one in the top corner. And that's what we've been about this season, where we need to be like 2 goals in front. And if we're not, there's always a chance that the other team's going to come back into it. Now, they always say that it's a dangerous scoreline when 1-0s and 2-0s can be dangerous scorelines, and obviously 2-1 can as well. But if you are organised and you can defend properly, there's plenty of teams that can defend a 1-0 lead. If that's Arsenal, obviously we're not on Arsenal's level right now, but if that was Arsenal and they've gone 2-1 up, you would expect that they're going to see that game out in the main, generally speaking. But no, fantastic points there. Right, so just coming on to what I normally do on games in terms of I don't do a player rating for each player. Might start doing that in the future, but for now I just really do a man of the match, strong performers, and then underperformers. So today there was a little bit of a toss-up in a sense, but just to be not to be different, because I'm sure people will agree, but put your comments in as well, just in regards to who your man of the match is. Question. Would you take 6th place now? Ooh. Oh, you're testing me here. I mean, again, I can only applaud you for the fantastic comments that you've been chucking in tonight, and it's just made it for me with these comments. Would take 6th place. I would like other people in the chat to also answer that, because I think that's a fantastic question. The only thing I'd say, though, is it's not... I suppose it gives you Europa League, but it doesn't give you Champions League, does it? 6th place. Really early videos, I think it must have been in my first video, because I only started this in August of last year, just before the season started. And I think I put us in, I think it was 6th, or it might have been 7th, I said that we'd finish before a ball was kicked, before the Premier League started, before that first game we played against Arsenal. And this is the thing, because I've said this, and I was saying this on David Speaks Football's channel, when it comes to a lot of the time, especially if I want to regard myself as a content creator, especially content creators that are speaking in front of people and speaking in front of fellow fans, you're almost not afforded the ability to change your mind. And for me, 6 didn't mean that I was happy with 6. 6 is what I thought we might get in May. But when the season's playing out, and you can see that you've got the opportunity to finish in a better position than 6, I want that. And again, when I know those days are gone now and there's no Fergie, that sort of thing, but we're used to, and it's very difficult to accept that we're this crap. But obviously I want the team to do well. I want us to finish as high as possible. I want us to get back into winning ways and winning Premier Leagues again. And I don't want it to be as long as it's taken Arsenal to win theirs. What is it already? We're on 14 years now. It's a long time when you're used to winning it. Sometimes every year, sometimes every couple of years, or whatever it may be. And you're only really getting... Sometimes Arsenal would have won it back in the day, or Chelsea would step in, but then we'd wrestle it back off them. So I can't settle for 6, but I see the question. I see you with that question, but we need to be getting back in those Champions League spots so that we can start to progress. And I don't know if I can trust this board to appoint the right person. The other thing I'm going to say is, and time was going to tell whether it's the right decision to get rid of Amorim and who they're going to get next. It's probably wise to wait a bit till the summer, because then your market opens up wider. The only problem with that, though, is what we're forgetting here is, let's say you're going for one of the coaches that are going to be in the World Cup, and let's say you're going to go for, I don't know, a Tuchel, let's say, or if we think there's enough years left in Ancelotti or whatever it may be, some of these coaches might be going quite deep into the World Cup in terms of quarters, semis, finals, you name it. And then they're going to want a bit of a break, and then they want to come in and pre-season and new players. Is there enough time to get the team in the right place, ready for the start of the new season. So that's the only thing I'm going to say is that it's not great timing to want to do a overhaul in a World Cup year, because there's also the players that you might want that might be at World Cup as well. So it's tricky. Sorry, went off on a tangent there, but it's all relevant. Our club in total turmoil at the moment. Personally, 6 would be fine. Yeah, and like I say, everybody is welcome to their opinion, even if you don't support Manchester United as well. You can have opinion on other teams and what you feel that would be good for them. And I'm not going to say anything against what you're saying there, saying that 6 would be fine, because on the other hand, and obviously I don't want to drop standards, but on the other hand, you could say it is a massive improvement in regards to how we finished last season, let's say. And it's all about that progression path, because none of us are stupid enough to think that we're going to go from 15th last season, not winning that Europa League, and then winning the league this season. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's daft enough to think that. And it is a journey. I get it. It's a journey. We are rebuilding. I don't like it that we feel like we're rebuilding all the time. And now that we've sacked Amorim, we'll be rebuilding again. Get it? Because we've now left ourselves short. We don't feel like we've got any wingers now. I know obviously Ahmad could play there and Mbumo, but it feels like because we've gone not full in, but we started to go down the journey of the 3-4-3 and we got rid of Rashford. Not to say that it was someone that we should have kept, but I'm just saying in terms of players playing certain positions, we didn't obviously allow Sancho to come back. Not that I'm saying that I wanted him back, but for that reason, you're sort of wanting to invest in wing backs, not really wingers. So as much as Dog was doing, relatively okay on the wing, I'm not seeing him there long term. I don't think he could develop as a winger for me. So yeah, it's interesting all that, because as much as we will be looking forward to a new coach coming in, are they going to be underprepared in the sense of time? And that's going to put us back, because there's so many times where we've tried to do a rebuild in either a European Championship sort of year or a World Cup year, and we're hampered because players want to have a break after the World Cup, then they don't get a pre-season, then they're behind then. Same with coaches will be the same, so I'm not sure about that. Imagine if we would have had Ahmad and Mbumo for the stretch of easy games. Yeah, again, that is the big, big loss there, because my first initial worry was that we were going to not probably lose games, to be fair, and then by the time they come back, we're way off it. And all I wanted, generally speaking, was for us to stay in touching distance with the pack around that sort of 4th, 5th spot, even 6th, and just be in and amongst it whilst our key players are away. And then once they come back, then we can then push on again and sort of take advantage of that sort of starting point. So like you said there, if there's no AFCON and you've got Mbumo still and you've got Ahmad and you've got Mazraoui to sort of help out in defence, then you would expect that we would have got more points from these games. And I suppose on the flip side, though, is that it's probably lucky that we've got some games like this where so let's say in this period, we had to play, we had played Villa, but we had to play Arsenal, City, Liverpool, for example. Without them, where would we be then? Because there's every chance that we might have lost to Arsenal, lost to City. Still might do, because we've still got to play them, but every chance that, or more of a chance that we're going to lose to those teams that are in form. So we've done well to beat Newcastle, in a sense, although they wasn't great on that day. But then these draws, that's where it's been the most disappointing to draw these games where you're drawing against bottom Wolves, you're drawing against Burnley today, you're not beating Leeds as much as they're in form, but they were there for the taking. So it's very disappointing. But I do get your point about the 6th position. And if it was to finish the season in 6, we probably won't be happy as a fan base, but we'll see the progression and hopefully then kick on for the new season. But let's see. If Ollie comes in, brings back the vibes, you never know. So, getting back into it then, man of the match, strong performers, underperformers. So for me, man of the match, I'm giving it to Dorgu. And purely because got the assist, kept going, kept putting chances in the box for Sesko. And I thought he had a really good game on the wing for me. Obviously, there might be a couple of things he could have done better, but I just think he kept at it and he kept doing that repetitive thing that I've talked about. Comments there, we missed them in the must win games, yeah. When it comes up to big dogs, anyone can turn them. Yeah, very true, because I mean, there has been times where, I've said it earlier, where we can come up against the bigger teams and shock ourselves and end up getting a result. And I don't like to hark back as far back as the first game of the season against Arsenal, but that's still a game that sits firmly in my mind that we should have done better in that game, or at least got a draw. So I get your point. So again, please put your comments in regards to who you think was your man of the match, but I'm going with Dorgu on this one. I would say close to that. Could have been Sesko for his 2 goals, but I've given it Dorgu. So now coming on to the strong performers. I've mentioned him already. I'm going to give it Sesko. Didn't like his first half performance per se, and I think he could have done better. However, he made up for that with 2 well-taken goals for me and kept going, kept trying. Probably could have got a hat-trick. Probably should have got 4 goals today in total, if I'm really honest. What we got here? My man of the match also is Dorgu. Yeah, that's from SJ. And man of the match there, Edvin there, Sesko, but I love Dorgu and his dedication. Yep, so similar thought process there then. And then I've also put for 2 more people in the strong performers category. I've got Bruno, because obviously again, doing the assist there for Sesko in his first goal. And then I had to put Lacey in there. I know he didn't score, and I know he didn't do a right lot, and I think he was only on the pitch for about 6 or 7 minutes, but he looked bright. He gave us a bit of hope. Really good strike on him. And I think once he starts to get a few more games under his belt and sort of gets blooded in the way that he should do, I think he could be a player. And we've heard a lot about him. So the 2, and I don't know how much you guys sort of look at the youth teams. And I used to do it, but I don't do it as much these days. But you do hear a lot about Shea Lacey. You do hear a bit about the Fletcher brothers as well. And then, obviously, the one that we're all waiting for, but he's a bit younger, is the JJ Gabriel. But I've got a sneaky feeling he's going to go to another team, though. I think when it comes to signing his professional contract, I'm not sure he's going to stay at Manchester United. And obviously, we haven't got a lot of good things to say about the board at the moment, but they've done well to keep him so far. But I'm not so sure, unless we get our act together, that JJ is going to stay. But that's the next one to look out for. So another comment there from SJ. Definitely one to watch, yeah, definitely. And I think it's been a long time, I feel, that we've had anything to sort of look forward to from the youth setup. And again, I've probably said it before, a lot of it could be to do with the fact that we're not particularly performing that well ourselves on the pitch as the adult team. But often when our youth have gone out on loan, they haven't had the best loans in the world, if I'm honest, or we haven't really sent them to the right teams, maybe. And I think what I want, and I'm sure you guys would want the same, is that we get to a point where we know what our identity is, because I thought we were going down the line of creating an identity, but that's just up in the air now. But we need to reclaim our identity, get a way of playing, get a strong first-team coach in, and then start to filter that down into the youth setups like we used to do and like other teams do. And unfortunately, that blue half of Manchester have done it well in the past. And we need to start filtering that down so that when a youth player that's not quite ready for the first team is probably too good for the under-21s, let's say, but not quite ready for the first team yet, can go out to another team, but a team that plays has got a similar philosophy to us, and it doesn't have to be in this country, it could be abroad, and they can go away and get some valuable game time and experience, and then come back and then start to get settled into the first team. And I think that's where we need to be headed. But at the moment, we just need to get it right on the pitch for the adult team. But that would be my vision. So to finish off then on the performances, underperformers for me, I'm really sorry. And he seems to be going up and down with his performances. Cunha. I don't know what you guys thought today. And like I say, keep them coming because there's been some fantastic comments there in the chat there. Cunha, for me, I don't feel like he played well today. I think he is in the, I'm just refreshing something here. He's just been in the, he's trying too hard. If that's a thing, he's trying too hard. I think sometimes that's hampering his performance for us. And he's doing that stuff where he's running down the alleys and not producing anything. And it's today just very disappointing. Not really creating anything, not really beating his man. A couple of good things here and there, but just not enough for me. So yeah, just a little bit disappointed in Cunha today. Not his best performance, and just where I thought in the last game, I felt he played pretty well against Leeds. He's kind of dipped again, so we just need to get that consistency from these players. Yeah, he was in no man's land. Yeah, very true. It just felt like he was just running down dark alleys and just not getting out of there, and it was just no good for the team. And I think that's one thing as well is that Fletcher's decided to sub him off, because I'm screaming at the TV saying, you need to sub him off, you need to sub him off. And it's not that I really like Cunha. All I want is to see the Cunha that played for Wolves on a regular basis, and I'll be really happy. Yeah, SJ saying I didn't enjoy his performance in the last game either. Okay, I mean, obviously he'd done much better in that last game. This game, didn't like it. Then next one for me, underperformer. So I've got 3. Xerxes. Again, I know he's not getting a run in the team, but there isn't really anywhere to play him for me. And I think especially if you start going to the 4-3-3 and when players come back, I don't see a position for him. I'm not so sure he's going to go on loan. And if he does, it's probably going to be even deadline day or something like that if he does go out. Because I think they're going to want to survey the scene, or whoever comes in to sort of take us up to summer might have the last say on it, maybe. I don't know. So I'm assuming no decisions will be made on anybody sort of leaving until the more, I want to call it permanent, is the right thing to say the permanent interim, but the more long-term interim comes in, perhaps. But on his showing today, I mean, don't get me wrong, he set up Cunha, didn't he, in the last game? Sort of first couple of touches, nice through ball, but today I just think he's a very sort of languid in his style, and I think that's the sort of thing that got labelled at Pogba, where it's just very relaxed, very sort of joggy sort of way that he runs, and he loses the ball and he just doesn't bust a gut to get it back. And I just think if I'm on that pitch and I lose that ball, I'm going to bust a gut to get that ball back and get back on the attack. And I just think it's just too sort of relaxed and yeah, whatever. And it's just not good enough for me. And again, it's the up and down performances that we're getting from a lot of these players. It's just, yeah. And then lastly, and it's purely because I felt like Dalot was quiet, but it's Dalot. I just didn't think he played well today. And there was no long throws from him. So that sort of put him back a little bit. But joking aside, it's like, again, I've said this before, he was doing that thing where he's not being aggressive. He's allowing his man too much space. He's allowing his man to turn and to cross and to pass. And for me, you just need to be closer to your man when it comes to defending and be aggressive. Let the guy that you're marking know you're there. and you're just giving the person too much respect, and it's that jockeying thing, as I've said before. So Cunha equals Brazilian flair, game state. Our team can't handle the situation, so his talent doesn't shine through. Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I mean I can see where you're coming from there, because I think there's been times where some players are not on his wavelength a lot of the time. So I think sometimes that because I think one of the reasons why we did bring him in was his ability to progress the ball. So generally speaking, he's good on the ball and he's strong on the ball. And again, I'm going back to his times at Wolves where he would get the ball and drive. But I think a lot of the time he's looking up to see if anybody's sort of keeping up with him, let's say, or busting a gut to give him some support. And I suppose if nobody's there, then he's going to do a wild shot, let's say, or he's going to take the ball even further. And obviously, definitely don't want to take that out of him in terms of ball progression, because I think that's where it definitely worked against Liverpool. If you remember in that game, he was holding on to the ball well. He was shielding the ball well. He was progressing the ball into their half, and that gave us time. So it's either time to run ahead of him, to give him support, or it's time to set again, or it's just taking the sting out of the game, as I say a lot of the time. So I wouldn't want to take that away from him, definitely. I just think it all needs to knit together now. And it just needs to, again, it's all about the team, getting consistency of formation, getting consistency of setup of the team, and then getting people in their right positions. Because what I don't want is for Mbeumo and Cunha to be pigeonholed into an area that's not their strengths. And a little bit like when Bruno's been playing deeper, where it's not your strength, but it's a way of getting you into the team. And obviously, you have to give him a bit more credit because he's still been creative from a deep position, but it's not his position. And I think as much as, he only got one assist today, I think that number 10 position, especially when he's back fully fit, because I think you could probably see today that Bruno wasn't fully fit, I think he will shine again in that sort of number 10 position. Every chance he's going to go, though, at the end of the season. And I keep saying for those Bruno haters, those people that don't like Bruno, that I think we will miss him when he's gone, because his creativity is just off the scale. And I felt when he left the pitch today, our creativity, as much as there was a lot coming from attempts coming from Dorgu still, I felt that our creativity had sort of left us a little bit. And I suppose as well, because Bruno gets more respect, because anytime I watch other sort of content or whatever it may be, and a question gets asked of the opposition fans, which player would you have for Manchester United? A lot of people are saying Bruno. A lot of people are saying if I was to take one of your players, it'd be Bruno. And a lot of the time it's because of his, again, it's this creativity. And what they'll say is Bruno in the 10, not the 6, but they take Bruno because of his creativity. When we are struggling to score, he can assist, and is deadly from the penalty spot normally. So he's got a lot to his game, and I think we're going to miss that when he's gone, if I'm honest. But that's another thing. Right, so if there's any sort of last comments coming through, we can read through them. But we are getting to end now because it's getting late, one of those late games again. So we can't be on all night. But just to get towards the end of this now then. And like I say, I can thank everybody that's put comments in, because it does make a difference where we can sort of bounce off the comments and have a discussion. And it doesn't feel like I'm just talking to myself, because it's that's what this world is like sometimes on YouTube. But it's nice to see interaction and some comments, and we can sort of bounce off each other and get your viewpoints as well, because I'm not going to be right about everything. It's just my opinion as a Manchester United fan, and you've got your opinion, and all opinions and comments are welcome here because we want to talk through them, have a chat, and what have you. So thanks again for that. So league position, just to wrap things up, we've looked at the league position. We're in 7th, could have been in 4th, And this is the sort of frustrating thing sometimes. Our next game is against Brighton in the FA Cup. I believe we're at home for that. So I don't know who's going to take us into that game, whether it's going to be Fletcher, or whether it's going to be Ole, or whether it's going to be Caretaker, or whoever it may be. So yeah, that's our next game. So sort of final sort of thoughts on the game then. So like I say, overall a bit disappointing, because when you are in the lead against a team that's towards the bottom of the table, and you are, or should be, a much superior team in terms of the players that you've got on show. Yes, we've got some players missing, appreciate that, and we've got players coming back from injury, but I still would have liked to have seen a win there, and would be something that we should have expected, to be honest. Nice to see the positivity from Fletcher. I think a lot of stuff that he was saying in his press conference did come to the fore in terms of how he wanted to set up, how he wanted to see the team play, wanted to see a team that, okay, you've scored 2 past us, but we'll score more than you. And I don't mind that too much, because it's better than... I don't want to sort of shove the knife into Amarim or anything, because I really liked the guy, but I think a lot of the times in certain situations, whether we were in the lead or we're losing, it felt like he would, for example, heaven off, Euro on. Now, that ain't changing the game for me. So taking Casemiro off and putting Xerxes on, okay, Xerxes wasn't great, but that makes sense to me, because that's a forward-thinking player who, if he played like he did against Leeds, might put a through ball through and give us a chance, for example. Putting Shea Lacey on into his, I believe that's his position, and him giving it a go and almost getting a fabulous goal from him, that's positivity. That is using the youth. That is, I want to win the game. So that's my sort of, in a way, takeaway of this, is that as much as first sort of game in charge, don't expect to see much more of him now, if I'm honest, but hasn't lost, was very positive, made positive substitutions. They're the sort of substitutions we want to see. They're game-changing substitutions, maybe not in this one, but there's certain tweaks that he's made that's improved things. And I think he's got into the ear of Dorgu to sort of keep getting the ball into the box. He's moved Bruno slightly to the right to get a bit more joy, which he did do pretty straight away with the slide rule pass to Sesko for his first goal. So for me, the result is what it is. It's more about what we can take away from the game. And like I say, hopefully, as there's some more training sessions, that we can see a better team, and we must win that game against Brighton, because we need to stay in that cup. And we need the games as well, so that players can play in games, because we don't have enough games with us being knocked out of the Carabao Cup, Grimsby, not being in Europe, Spurs, and just playing that one game a week. We need the game, so we need to stay in this cup, and also just to give us a chance to progress, because does that give us Europe potentially if we win the FA Cup? So we need to stay in that cup. So, as always, thank you for watching Dan Talks United. Thank you for all the comments, and please come again, because those comments were fantastic. So I do previews. I don't know if you've been in to any of the content before, but obviously do previews of matches, do the review as I'm doing today. I'll be on David Speaks Football on Monday evening. Try and get as much content out there as possible. So please keep coming in. Please keep making the comments. Fantastic stuff today. Keep it coming. But please subscribe as well. And thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.